Hi, Maria.
Oh, give me just a minute.
Okay, welcome. This night is all about college and how to hopefully make it happen. I'm going to talk a little bit about how career planning should always come before college planning. I will talk about different college options and the college admissions process. And I will also talk a little bit about how to pay for college and financial aid. Depending on what grade students you are in, or parents, what grades your students are in, I know there's a lot of different questions that apply at different times. I definitely encourage you to ask those questions. So use the Q&A. If you would like to make the question anonymous, you can make it anonymous or you can use your name, either way. But I thank everybody for joining us. And again, I'm Carla Whitaker from Cal SOAP. And a lot of what we do is basically trying to help students and parents understand the college going process, the financial aid process. We help seniors, 12th graders fill out their FAFSA and financial aid forms like the DREAM Act, the FAFSA, give information about scholarships. We have college fairs, all kinds of things like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And as I said, if there's something that you put in the Q&A that might be pertinent to a lot of people, Maria will let me know. She'll ask me to address it out loud. Otherwise, if there's a question that's specific to Guajome and she can type the answer to you individually, she will do that. Okay, I will go ahead and get started. All right. Okay. So as I mentioned, I am part of Cal SOAP San Diego. We are the California Student Opportunity and Access Program. We are part of UC San Diego in the sense that UCSD is our fiscal agent. And you can check our website for updates, events, information. Everything that we do is about post-secondary education and trying to help families access that. And also everything that we do is free. We are funded by the California Student Aid Commission. They are the people who create the DREAM Act application and help California students with their financial aid. And so that's our funding source. We are grant funded. And that's one of the reasons that we can provide any services for free. Also, we are on social media. So if you're a social media person, we are on X, we are on Facebook, and also we are on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is at CalSOAP San Diego, and we try to use that to post at least every week, sometimes several times a week, anytime we have an upcoming opportunity or anything that we think that families would be interested in that's kind of education or financial aid related. So we welcome you to follow us on social media. If you don't do social media, you can sign up for our monthly newsletter, or you can look at our website, and we have all those options for you. So there's probably many words that you think of when you hear college. When I ask this to a group of students, when I say, what do you think of when you hear college? And sometimes students will say things like dorms or tests or living on campus, or there's a lot of different things that come to mind, classes, finals, things like that. When I ask a group of parents, a lot of times they say debt, money, anxiety, stress, and all of it is true. All of it can be true at the same time. A basic definition of college is it's school that can prepare you for future jobs and careers. And it's one where, unlike kind of elementary, middle school, high school, where a lot of your classes are somewhat chosen for you, in college you choose your classes and you choose your major. So you're choosing what you would like to study. Okay, so if in case there are students who don't know what is a major, that's the specific subject in which you take the most college classes while working on an undergraduate degree. That's called a major. Now, there's probably dozens, if not hundreds, of majors possible. These are some examples of popular majors. You could major in engineering, in business or finance, in a science like biology, chemistry, or physics, in something like English or psychology or social science or communication, computer science, a visual or performing art, in education if you wanted to become a teacher. So there were many different majors for you to choose from. And that's kind of one of the most important things, is not just figuring out, well, I just have to go to a college, any college. It should be a college that has a program in what you want to study. So in terms of what do you want to study, I'm going to suggest some resources that I think are really helpful for students and sometimes for parents as well. One of my favorites is California Career Zone. It's at cacareerzone.org. It's free, although you do have to create a simple basic account, but it's free. And it lets you explore different careers. It gives you information on how much education do you need for that career? What's the salary? What is a day like in the life of this career? What kind of personalities do well with this career? What kind of majors match this career? So I love CA Career Zone. Oh, and then Maria, do you have a question?
Yes, I did. One of our attendees just asked, what's the best time to start applying for grants or scholarships and how to find them?
Okay, I will be addressing this a little bit later, but I'll address it quickly now, and then I will go back to this topic. So in terms of financial aid from the government, okay, which is like federal and state aid, basically you can't apply for that until the student is in 12th grade. When they're in 12th grade, the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, it will open usually in the fall. This year it's going to open December 1st for our 12th graders. And that one form you fill out then in 12th grade, and then you find out any government aid you are possibly eligible for, whether that's grants, loans, or work study. Okay. You usually find out in the spring, like around January, February, March, colleges start sending you financial aid packages. So that process with a FAFSA is once a year, every year you're in college, and the priority deadline will always be March 2nd. So if you have a 12th grader somewhere between like December 1st and March 2nd, that's when they're going to be filling that form out. Okay, that's the earliest they can fill it out. As far as scholarships, every scholarship is different and has a different deadline. There are many scholarships out there that are exclusively for high school seniors, but they could be due in September or October, November, December. It could be any time. So that's one of the reasons that I encourage you, for example, to follow CalSOAP on social media, because we try to post scholarship applications the month that they're due. So like when San Diego Foundation scholarship opens, probably in January, we're going to be posting about that in January, February until its deadline in March. Or right now, for example, one that's open is the Coca-Cola scholarship. That's open for 12th graders now, and it's due September 30th. So I would try to look at scholarships. That's an ongoing process. Whereas the FAFSA, that for any federal or state money, that's just once a year. So hopefully that addresses that a little bit, but you have another question. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. They asked, doesn't the FAFSA start October 1st?
Usually it does. Okay. Usually it opens October 1st. The FAFSA was overhauled last year. There was a lot of changes to it, so it opened late. They were hoping that this fall it would go back to the regular opening date of October 1st, but they decided there were still too many problems with it. So it's going to be December 1st this year. After that, they think it's going to return to October 1st, but they just wanted a couple extra months to work out all the problems they were having with the new FAFSA. So this year it will be December 1st. However, I should mention that in October and November, there are some schools that are being chosen for what we'll call, I think they call it beta testing, where there might be some students who can submit it as early as October 1st. But generally for general public in the US, it's going to open this year for seniors on December 1st. But you're right, October 1st is the typical opening day. All right. So when it comes to career resources, I do recommend California Career Zone. Another great one, and this is for parents too, ONET Online. ONET Online has a lot of government data about jobs, availability, pay rates, things like that. If you're looking for a job specifically in San Diego, the San Diego Workforce Partnership has awesome, excellent resources on the different employment sectors here in San Diego County. And also a really good one for student is Big Future. Big Future lets you study careers and research careers and or colleges and or financial aid. But the career section of Big Future is a really great one to check out. So I recommend that. Okay, so I want to make sure people understand some of the different degrees and how college isn't always quote unquote 4 years. All right, it depends what you're studying because it's going to take a different amount of time to become a firefighter than it is to become a nurse, than it is to become a teacher, than it is to become a painter, than it is to become a doctor. They all have different kind of certifications and degrees necessary. So that means they're probably going to take different amount of time. Also, it's not like school now where you just have 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. Once you get to college, it's not about years, it's about units. So some students go part-time, some students go full-time, some students take summer classes, some students work in the summer. So it's all going to depend on what you want to do. I'll give you a couple examples of things that take maybe like a career, technical, trade, or vocational course. Something like if you wanted to be in automotive repair, if you wanted to be an administrative assistant in an office, the type of program you could take would probably be offered at a vocational college or a community college. And that might take a number of months or maybe up to 1 or 2 years. But a lot of times in less than 2 years, you can get right into certain, technology-based or trade-based careers. Say you wanted to be a dental hygienist or a paralegal or work in an accounting office, not necessarily be a dentist or a lawyer, since that takes so much school and so much time and money, but you wanted to be in those fields. Well, usually with an associate's degree that would take about 2 years if you were going full time, you could become a dental hygienist, you could become a paralegal or an accounting assistant. There are a lot of jobs that require a bachelor's degree. And so that's why a lot of times you hear people say, well, college is 4 years. Again, it depends if you go part-time or full-time, if you change your major, depends on the college and which major you're doing. But let's say you wanted to become something like a marketing manager or an engineer. That typically would take about 4 years. And then that is what is usually called a bachelor's degree. Anything up to that, you're working on an undergraduate degree. Now, there are careers that take higher than a bachelor's degree, so you'd have to get a bachelor's and then apply to a graduate program. And I'll give you some examples of those. If you wanted to be a school counselor, if you wanted to be a teacher in the K through 12 schools, if you wanted to be something like an occupational therapist, those all take some kind of certification past the bachelor's level, like getting a teaching certificate or a therapist certificate. There are some careers that will require a master's degree. So after getting a bachelor's, you might have to apply to get a master's degree. That can take 3 years. Sometimes it can take shorter or longer. One example would be like to go to law school. That takes usually about 3 years doing it full time. Technically, you have a doctorate at the end, a JD, a Juris Doctor, but that is different than like a medical doctor. But there are some careers for which you need a master's degree, and that includes teaching as a professor at the college level. Probably the career that takes the highest amount of education is to become something like a medical doctor, a veterinarian, or a dentist, because after your undergrad degree, say in something like biology or pre-med, then you have to apply to med school. Medical school is usually another 4 years, but then you have additional years of internship and residency in your specialty. So that can take definitely many, many years. So this is just to tell you that college can look a lot of different ways. College can happen at a lot of different places. And that's why you want to start with your career goal first. And then that helps you figure out, okay, where do I want to start at college? Am I going to start at a community college and transfer? Is community college the highest level that I need maybe? Do I need a bachelor's? Do I need a master's? Do I need a doctorate? What do I need to get into the field that I want to get into? I do want to mention that to get a bachelor's degree, there are two different ways to get it, and you come out with the same degree at the end. And there's maybe some benefits and limitations to both ways. So you could go 4 years at a university. I'm going to just, for example, I'm going to say CSU San Marcos. Okay. Let's say that I wanted to major in health sciences at CSU San Marcos. So I start there, I apply there my senior year. I start there as a freshman and I go my freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. I graduate CSU San Marcos in about 4 years with a health sciences bachelor's degree. Okay. Another way to get that same degree is you could start your first 2 years at a community college like Miracosta or Palomar. Then you could apply to transfer to CSU San Marcos and finish your junior and senior year there at CSU San Marcos and get that exact same bachelor's degree in health sciences. So, what would be like the drawbacks or limitations of each method? One of the things that some people say the reason they want to do 4 years at a university is because to them that's streamlined. It's a straight path, and they will, like, for example, meet friends and study buddies right away. They want to be at the same place, and they don't have to apply twice, once for the community and once to transfer. Also, universities all have options for on-campus housing if you want to live in a dorm, whereas community colleges typically don't have on-campus housing or dorms. Then again, there's a benefit of doing it the community college route. And one of the benefits is that 2 years at community college, the tuition is going to be probably free, or at worst case scenario, very, very, very low cost. The tuition and fees at community colleges are extremely, extremely affordable. And so for a lot of people, going that route is a really affordable way to go. Another benefit of a community college is if you're going in undecided and you're not sure what you're going to major in, it's a lot better to try different classes at the community college, and you're like, well, I'm going to take psychology, and I'm going to take linguistics, and I'm going to take applied math, and I'm going to see what I like. And so to do that at a really affordable place like a community college, a place where you can explore, especially if you're undecided on what you want to do, can be a good option. So anyway, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to get your bachelor's degree. I just want to let you know that there are these different ways to get it. And at the end, you will have a bachelor's degree either way. So you have to weigh the benefits and limitations for yourself. Okay, so I want to kind of review some of the systems in California. We have our community college system. There's over 100 community colleges. In North County, we have Miracosta and Palomar. In Central, we have City Mesa and Miramar. In South Bay, we have Southwestern, and in East County, we have Grossmont and Cuyamaca community colleges. So we've got a lot of them. The next public system of education are the CSUs, or the California State Universities. There are 23 of these. The two we are most familiar with, because we're close to them, is San Diego State University and CSU San Marcos. And then, as I mentioned, there's 21 others as well. The last system of public universities or public colleges in California is the UC system. Now, there's only 9 or 10 of these. Of course, we know UC San Diego is our local one. Next closest would be like UC Irvine, UC Riverside, UCLA. And so these 3 are all public, and that means that they are comparatively affordable. However, UCs are the most expensive. CSU, the tuition is about half that of a UC, and then I'll go into tuition at a community college as well. Then we also have our private colleges as well, such as University of San Diego. That's a Catholic university in San Diego. Point Loma Nazarene University, or a college like Stanford or Caltech or USC. Those are private as well. Okay. So I will give just kind of a little bit of a tidbit on each of these and talk about some of what they're intended to do, what kind of degrees you can get, and the benefits and limitations of these different systems of higher education. I do want to mention, sometimes people ask me, can students apply to any college? Yes, they can apply to any college. Some universities might be highly selective, meaning it might be hard to get into. Some might be very expensive and not offer full financial aid. But can you apply to any college? Absolutely, yes, you can. Can students choose any college? Again, if they get in, yes, they can. I do want to mention that if it's a public college, they are charging what we'll call in-state tuition for California residents. But then they will charge a much higher out-of-state tuition if a student is considered international or out of state. So if someone comes here from another country or another state, like let's say they're applying here, but they're from Florida, okay, what they would pay for a public college or university in California is roughly 2 to 3 times higher than what a California resident would pay. So public colleges, they usually give a break for in-state residents. Private universities, usually they charge the same for everybody. So to them, it doesn't matter where you pay taxes because they don't take any tax money. Also, a couple other things about, can students choose any college? Yes, they can choose any college they want to attend. They should know that some, like community colleges, the highest degree they offer is often an associate's degree. Maybe other universities might have bachelor's degrees and maybe higher, like master's and doctorate. And the last thing I want to tell people is make sure you check that the college you want to go to has the major that you want. I worked with a student this summer who it was always her dream to go to UCLA, and she'd been working toward it and working toward it. And then she literally looked up their list of majors and it didn't have her preferred major. And she was shocked because that's something she hadn't looked up before. So please make sure that a college you want to attend does have your major that you're interested in. So there's kinds of two different systems as far as factors that are considered for getting into college. If it's a community college, all you have to do is either be 18 or have a high school diploma or GED after high school graduation or completion. However, in other words, they're not looking at it from the point of view of like, what are your test scores? What are your grades? They are designed to serve the community literally and not to be selective. So if you apply on time, basically you will get into a community college. You can even attend concurrently and be taking community college classes in high school, but those are probably for dual enrollment credit. So you get high school as well as college credit. But in terms of getting in there as a quote unquote college freshman, it is for the community and they are not exclusive, meaning they're not excluding anyone based on grades, test score, A through G classes. If you look at four-year universities, they do tend to be more selective, some more than others. Some of them require a really strong GPA. They will look at your coursework with what they call A through G courses, like 4 years of English, 3 to 4 years of math, etc. They will be looking to see, did you take any like honors or advanced placement courses? And some universities are considering additional factors, like some also look at a test like the SAT. They might look at your extracurriculars. They might ask for your community service or leadership. And some of them also require like essays, like a personal statement, or in the case of the UCs, they ask PIQs or personal insight questions, where they ask you to write 4 quick, I'm going to say responses because they don't like to call them essays. Okay. All right, so there's always questions about money, and I do want to quickly go over this, and I will come back to it. But if you just would like kind of, if you want to say a ballpark estimate of the college cost of tuition, this is estimated tuition costs per year for in-state residents in California. So if you're a California resident, if you are paying out of pocket to go to a community college for 1 year full time, that would probably cost, depending how many units you took, probably between $1,200 and $1,400 a year, which is extremely, extremely affordable. However, there's something called the promise that will make your first 2 years of tuition most likely free. But in the case that it isn't, or you don't want to fill out a financial aid form, then that would be the out-of-pocket cost. Currently, the CSUs for 1 year at a CSU, the tuition is about $8,000 a year. And currently for UCs, the tuition, it's actually a little bit higher than this when you include the fees as well. But at a UC, it's about between $15,000 and $19,000 a year for the tuition. If you're looking at a private college like MIT, USC, Yale, Harvard, Stanford, they usually start somewhere around $40,000 a year for the tuition, and they go up from there. I know this seems like shocking amounts, and it can be, but I also want to talk about, how to afford it and how to decide where to go that's the most affordable. All right, I'm going to highlight a little bit about the community colleges in our area. We have, like I said, a very robust community college system. There's something called the College Promise Initiative, which means your first 2 years of California community college tuition are free if you're a California resident who filled out the FAFSA or DREAM Act. And that's for all California community colleges for college California residents. They might ask you to take a placement test or ask about scores for course placement, but they are not excluding based on anything in your record. Again, they are meant to serve the community. They offer both associate's degrees and all kinds of vocational and certificate programs. And they also have transfer degrees available where if you're doing your first 2 years, but you plan to apply to transfer to a university to finish your junior, senior year, all the community colleges locally have programs where you can make sure to get your correct general ed requirements finished. So some of the benefits of a community college are it's going to be an easy commute. There's going to be one close to you guaranteed. The admissions process is not competitive. It's first come, first served. And the application is free. Not just that there are fee waivers, but every application for a community college is free. It's very affordable for California residents. And in fact, you should probably get free tuition your first 2 years with a promise. That just requires you to fill out a FAFSA or DREAM Act. You get the same or very similar general education as you would in a university. They have a lot of flexibility in their scheduling. And again, if you want to start there as a freshman and sophomore and then apply to transfer, you can do that from a community college. So what are some limitations or drawbacks of a community college? A lot of times the highest degree they can offer is an associate's degree. So with a few exceptions here and there, most community colleges are not able to offer a bachelor's degree. Usually the highest you can get is an associate's, sometimes called a 2-year degree. Also, most community colleges do not have dorms, at least not in Southern California. City College in downtown San Diego is building dorms right now. It'll be the first one, but other than that, most community colleges are commuter only. I do want to mention some of the different like career and vocational programs that are available through our community college system here in the county. And the reason I mention this is sometimes you'll see these very slick, very nice commercials for vocational schools that are for profit, and they might be awesome schools, but a lot of times they are more expensive than what you could be getting at the same thing at a community college. And I'll highlight a few of those locally. If you want to become a firefighter, then your route is you have to attend a fire academy. We are fortunate to have 3 of those in San Diego County. We have Miramar College, we have Southwestern College, and we have Palomar College that actually has a combined firefighter EMT program. So if firefighting is what you want to do, you have a lot of choices here in San Diego. There's different kinds of nursing degrees that you can get. If you want to get not necessarily all the way to a bachelor's, but you want to get an associate's in nursing or become a nursing assistant, they have programs like that at City College and the College of Continuing Ed. There are personal training and fitness specialist certificates available. There's phlebotomy certificates to learn how to draw blood. Cosmetology program at City College, culinary arts programs. Mesa College has a veterinary tech program if you want to not necessarily become a veterinarian doctor, but work as a vet tech in a vet's office. Mesa College is definitely an awesome opportunity. Grossmont College has respiratory therapy. City College has a great digital music and audio production program. So there are a lot of vocational things available for very low cost at our community colleges. So I just want to highlight those. All right. Next public system is the California State Universities. As I said, there's 23 of these. They are a traditional university setting. The application fee is about $70 per campus. So there's one CSU application, and then there's like check boxes, and you check which ones you want to apply to, which CSUs. If you are eligible for a fee waiver based on family size and income, the application will automatically tell you if you are, and you would get up to 4 campuses covered for free. They are looking at your coursework. Did you take the right number of classes? They are looking at a minimum 2.5 GPA. They do not use the SAT or ACT, and they do admit by major. So I always recommend that people put 2 choices of major, a first and second choice, and that possibly one is less impacted than the other if you're looking at really competitive majors. They also all offer ways to transfer from a community college into them to finish your junior, senior year there. So it's a public system. California residents get in-state tuition. It's comparatively affordable. They offer bachelor's degrees and higher. All 23 have options to live on campus. And there's something called the middle class scholarship that you will find out if you maybe qualify for. If your income is quote unquote too high for need-based aid, there's a kind of a middle class scholarship that pays for partial or complete tuition at a CSU or a UC. And so that's something that's only available. The middle class scholarship in California is only available for CSU or UC students. Some of the limitations of a CSU, it is more expensive than a community college, and sometimes they do have very impacted majors. I'll give an example. One at San Diego State, they have nursing. It's extremely selective and hard to get into. I want to say they have something like a 4% admit rate. So that's one that's very hard to get into. All right. The next system is our UCs. Although there are 10 of these, there are 9 that you can apply to out of high school. The only one you can't is UC San Francisco because it is a graduate medical school only. But you could apply to Davis, Berkeley, Merced, Santa Cruz, Santa Barbara, LA, Riverside, Irvine, or San Diego. The application fee here, I believe, is $80 per campus. And again, it'll let you know on the application when you enter your family size and income if you qualify for a fee waiver that lets you apply to up to 4 UCs for free. They are looking at your coursework. They also have at least a minimum of 3.0 GPA. They are not looking at the SAT anymore or the ACT for admissions purposes. And they do use something called comprehensive review. So the UCs will ask you for some additional information like what extracurriculars have you been in? Have you done community service? Have you done leadership roles? They will also ask you to write 4 personal insight question responses. Okay. So just like the CSUs, they all have bachelor's degrees and higher. They all have options to live on campus. You might qualify for a middle class scholarship at a UC, which is can only go toward tuition, not other costs, but that is something that's for California residents. Again, limitations, it is more expensive than the CSUs or the community colleges, and they do have some majors that are capped or highly selective. All right. So the next system I want to talk about is private colleges. There are many, many, many campuses. Locally, we have Alliant International, we have National University, we have USD, Point Loma Nazarene. If you want to get elsewhere in the state, you know, Stanford, USC, all kinds of places. And the campus settings and focuses vary widely, as do the application fees. Some of them are very selective. Some of them are not as selective. Some of them are test blind. And then again, some of them require an SAT for admissions. A lot of them use something called the Common App. So if you're a 12th grader, you want to check out commonapp.org. It'll give you a list of the 1,000 or so colleges. A lot of privates and out of states use Common App. Locally, I know, for example, USD and Point Loma Nazarene, they both use the Common App. Out of state, I know like Arizona State University uses the Common App. And there are a lot in California that use the Common App. So it could be anywhere from free to $50 to $85 to $100 per campus. Again, it's just one application you fill out, and then you check a box of the private or out of state colleges you want it to go to. And they all vary in what they look for in, to admit somebody. Typically, private colleges don't charge out-of-state tuition. The tuition is the same for every student. They offer bachelor's, master's, and higher. They usually have options to live on campus. Private colleges tend to be smaller, have smaller class sizes. Some tend to be very specialized or have a particular emphasis, like they might be faith-based or they might be for women only or something like that. They tend to have large financial aid packages, but that's because the expenses, it can be very expensive to attend a private university. Also, admissions can be extremely competitive. It just depends on the college. I want to mention that there are a lot of vocational and technical colleges and institutions out there as well. Some local ones that I'll highlight are FITM, the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. We have a San Diego campus for them. There's also a fabulous Los Angeles campus that they have. Paul Mitchell School is a school of beauty, like haircuts and things like that. Also Concord Career Institute. These ones costs vary widely. It usually does cost more than a community college, and usually it's not the type of thing where you can use a degree from a vocational school to then transfer to a university. But a lot of times they don't require any kind of like testing like an SAT to get in. They often have rolling admissions, so you can enroll anytime. And some of them have really good job placement or internship opportunities. A lot of times you can earn a certificate in a very short amount of time. Limitations, they can be pricey. You might find the same program offered at a community college for less. And just remember that that degree at a vocational school might not transfer to a university. I also warn people to please be careful about any college, or be cautious if the college is for profit. Another word for that is proprietary. So if a college lists itself as proprietary or for profit, they are a business. And what that means is that they can go out of business. And the way they are ranked is if a college is not yet allowed to use a Cal grant, for example, because they have low graduation rates and high student loan default rates, then I would be cautious about going there. Okay. There are also the possibility that a for-profit college could suddenly close. That has actually happened many times in San Diego, like at the Art Institute, Brightwood College, Coleman University, ITT Tech. It happened, I believe, with St. Catherine's and San Marcos just last year. So if it's a for-profit college, it can unfortunately close right in the middle of things, and students kind of are left without a paddle, so to speak. So do be cautious and do your research if it's a private college. If it's a for-profit college. What if you want to go out of state? So out-of-state private schools will probably have the same cost of attendance for all students. Like I'll give an example as Harvard. Their tuition is the same for everybody. Out-of-state public schools mostly charge out-of-state tuition, at least for the first few years, which on average is 60 to 70% higher than in-state tuition. An example of that would be Arizona State University. So it's more expensive for a California resident to attend Arizona State than it would be for an Arizona resident to attend Arizona State. If you're interested in going to an out-of-state college that is public, I do recommend what's called WUI, or the Western Undergraduate Exchange. If you go to the WUI website, it will give you a list of colleges that will actually give you reduced tuition if you're in the West. So a lot of these are like in California, Hawaii, Arizona, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, where you might still get a break as even if you're an out-of-state resident, if you're in a Western state. So do check out WUI if you're interested in out-of-state public. Again, these vary. Some of them use the Common App. And I also want to mention there's an additional financial aid form that they might require in addition to the FAFSA, and that's called the CSS profile. I'll give you some examples. MIT, NYU, Harvard, Stanford, Caltech, USC, those all ask you to fill out the CSS profile in addition to the FAFSA. We like to call it FAFSA's nosy cousin. So they're asking even more specific financial information about your family. Okay, another option, although I'm not personally an expert in this, I want to mention that the military has a lot of different options for both education and employment. And so this is a resource that I'm going to point you in the direction of if you're a military family. So parents, if you are or were in the military, what you need to do is go to the CalVet website, that's for California veterans, to find out your benefits. Students can often get partial or full tuition coverage at many California colleges and universities, especially if the parent, unfortunately, if the parent was killed or disabled in the line of duty. If you're in the military, you know that disability is by percentage. So you can be like 25% disabled or 50% or 100%. There's different, calculations, but that can actually mean that the student might benefit from tuition coverage based on the parents' benefits. So go to calvet.org. Another thing is that members of the military get what we call GI benefits, which is money for them to go to college. Parents, if you got GI benefits and you didn't already spend that amount on your own education, in other words, if you never spent any of it, or if you spent some of it, but there's some left over, you can now transfer it to a dependent. Actually, it doesn't even have to be a dependent. It could be a spouse. It can be anyone you want. But go to CalVet to find out, okay, do I have any GI Bill money left? Because you can transfer it to someone else. Also, all California public colleges work with students who are in the military or military dependents. They usually have an Office of Veterans Affairs on campus, but a lot of private colleges, if they are quote unquote yellow ribbon schools, they will often also have a veteran center. And that's who you want to check out if you're interested in a specific private college, but you want to see if they have any military benefits. Also, many colleges offer ROTC programs and scholarships if the student wants to join the military or join ROTC. And so sometimes you can get a lot of college education paid for that way. And students, keep in mind, if you enlist or join a branch of the military when you become 18, they will often pay for your college expenses, but your full-time obligation is of course going to be the military before school. But there's lots of different benefits for various, whether you're you're a military dependent, whether you're in the military, whether you're in the reserves or ROTC, a lot of these options exist, and I just want to make sure people are aware. Okay, so we'll talk about money now. All right, so once again, these are the estimated annual tuition costs at a community college, a CSU, a UC, or a private university. Okay, now I know that's not the entire cost of college, unfortunately. The total cost of attendance isn't just tuition and fees. I know you also will have to pay for books and supplies. You'll also have to pay for room and board, which is like rent and food. You're going to have miscellaneous expenses like laptop, cell phone, Wi-Fi. You will probably have transportation as your expense, whether that is a car payment, public transportation, a parking permit. You have medical health. That's another one, is medical insurance. So we know that there's more costs than just the tuition. So let's talk about how to try to finance those. All right. I want you to know how much college costs, but also I want you to know how much financial aid can I expect to receive. Am I going to get 100% of this cost paid for? Am I going to get 50% of this cost paid for? 0%? And what would I have to pay out of pocket? So I'm going to focus on ways to pay for college. One thing I do warn parents is a lot of times we have all heard of this idea of a full ride, which is like this mystical, magical scholarship that doesn't exist. You will never see the words full ride on any college financial aid award. Okay, it just doesn't exist. Or if it does, it's very, very rare. However, I do know a lot of students who are getting 100% of their cost of attendance paid through financial aid packages, but it's almost never all just simply from one source. I'll give you an example. Most colleges, their financial aid office puts together a package, and it lets you know if you're eligible for any federal grants, like a Pell Grant, that would be on there. If you're eligible for any state grants, like a Cal Grant, that would be on there. If you're eligible for any federal loans, it will include that in your financial aid package. However, you're not obligated to take the loan. They'll just tell you if you're eligible. So don't worry that you are going to be forced to take a loan. You're never forced to take a loan. Okay. If you're eligible for work study, which means you have a part-time job in college and you earn your own money to help pay college expenses, that will be in a financial aid package. If you earn any scholarships from the college, like a department at the college or anything at the college, that will be in there. Plus any outside scholarships that you might bring in, all of those things will come together to create a financial aid package. When you look at that total package, our hope is that it covers the entire cost of attendance. But if it doesn't, then you might have to decide, I can't attend this college, or I have to maybe go to community college for 2 years and transfer, or I do have to go ahead and consider taking loans. It depends, but all of those things packaged together are all considered financial aid, but it's rare to find a quote unquote full ride. Okay, that's the magic dream. Okay, so which situation is your 12th grade student in? Most 12th graders will be in a situation where the student is a US citizen or permanent resident. If you have a social security number or if you have a T visa students, then you're going to be filling out the FAFSA. I say this usually applies to about like 90% of students that I work with, maybe even 95%, where the student is filling out a FAFSA. So it doesn't matter your parents' status or anything like that. It's if the student has a social security number, they can fill out the FAFSA. Now, if the student is undocumented, okay, but they have been a California resident for at least 3 years, or if they have a U visa or TPS status, then they fill out a different form called the California DREAM Act. It basically lets you know what California state aid you're eligible for. If you are undocumented, though, you're not eligible for federal aid, but you would be eligible for state of California aid. Now, there's a tiny, tiny subset of people that unfortunately cannot fill out the FAFSA or the DREAM Act. This is if you are a temporary non-immigrant visa holder. For example, if you have an F visa, an H visa, a J visa, you cannot fill out the FAFSA or the DREAM Act. So you might need to use things like savings, loans, or scholarships that don't require citizenship. Okay, so I know that's a tiny subset of people, but if you're in that situation, unfortunately, if you can't fill out the FAFSA or the DREAM Act, you'll have to look at other sources. And then finally, remember that there is this fourth form called the CSS profile. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say fourth form. This additional form that is required in addition to the FAFSA by some private and out-of-state universities. Okay, so how do you pay for college? These are the combination of factors or funding sources that you can use to pay for college. Number one is savings. And even though I encourage everyone to save, I know that that's not even remotely possible for a lot of people to save the amount that is the cost of attendance these days, because the cost of living and the cost of tuition is very high. So hopefully you can also be getting prepared to fill out the FAFSA or DREAM Act in 12th grade and every year you're in college. So remember, as long as you're in college, every year you're filling out this FAFSA once a year. From the FAFSA, you will find out if you're eligible for any grants. That's great. That's free money. You don't have to pay back. If you're eligible for any work study, that's if you want to get an on-campus job, which is awesome. And then if you're eligible for any government loans, okay, like a PLUS loan, the parent loan for undergraduate students. Again, you can be offered a loan. That does not mean you have to accept it. It just lets you know you're eligible for one. Also, scholarships is another way to pay for college, and we'll talk about some scholarship resources, but scholarships are free money that do not need to be paid back. And then the last way you can pay for college is loans. So this is a conversation that you would need to have as a family. You have to decide, yes, we're willing to take loans to finance college, or no, we are not. And if you are willing to take a loan, you want to look at what is my return on investment. So is the student interested in studying something that's going to be a really lucrative money-making career? For example, I know it costs a lot to go to medical school, but I also know that doctors can make a lot of money, right? So sometimes people are studying things where for them, they know it's worth it to take that loan because they know it gives them the potential to earn so much more money. But some things it's not worth it maybe as far as just strictly from a financial perspective. You have to think about that return on investment, okay? I do want to mention, so when you fill out a FAFSA, you get something called an SAI, a Student Aid Index. It used to be called an EFC, or Expected Family Contribution. It's based mostly on your family size and your family income and assets. The lowest your SAI could be is negative $1,500. It could be zero. It could be 2,000 or 5,000 or 50,000. That's going to just vary based on your family income, assets, and family size. Now, the SAI does not change unless the family income changes. It's the same dollar amount regardless of which college you attend. Now, the lower this SAI number, the more need-based aid that a student would qualify for. What changes from college to college to college is the cost of attendance, mostly because of their tuition differences. But the SAI does not change. It stays the same usually for a whole year until you update it by filling out the FAFSA the next year. Okay. So, again, if the student is a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, they fill out the FAFSA in 12th grade. If the student does not have a social security number, maybe have been here for 3+ years, but you don't have a social security number, you fill out the DREAM Act. Nobody fills out both. It's either one or the other. Grade 12 is when you fill it out. Again, it's going to open in December of 12th grade this year, December 1st. It usually opens October 1st. What information is this form going to ask? Like, how nosy are they going to get in your business? Basically, it will link to your tax return. So they're going to be able to see your tax information. They're going to ask you some demographic information like your name, your address, etc. They'll ask family size. They'll ask for student income and parent income if there is any. So if the student has a job, they're reporting that. If the parent or parents have a job, you're reporting that. It also is going to ask for student and parent assets. That would mean things like savings accounts, 529 college savings plans, investments like stocks and bonds, rental properties. Those are the kind of things they'll ask for. It'll also ask if you own a business or a farm, what is the value of that business or farm? Here's what it will not require. It will not require the value of the home you live in, whether you rent or own. The home you live in is your home, and that's not, they can't touch that or count that, so to speak. So that's not considered an asset on the form. Also, they will not ask you to disclose your retirement accounts. If it's like in a 401k or a 403b, which there would be penalties if you took it out before retirement age, that's different than a savings account or stocks and bonds. They will not ask for your retirement accounts as an asset. Okay. Now, even if parents, you say, well, I'm going to tell my kid they're on their own as of 18, that's fine, that's legal. But as far as the government's concerned, they're going to keep asking for your parental income until the student is age 24. Okay, so unless the student has a child, unless the student gets married, unless they join the military, unless they're homeless, unless they're legally emancipated, if none of those apply, then they're still going to keep asking for the family income until age 24. All right. If there are any 12th graders or seniors on here tonight, the high school class of 2025, this is your timeline for this year. You're going to fill out the FAFSA or DREAM Act as soon as possible after it opens. This year it will open December 1st. The priority deadline in California is March 2nd. So try to do your best to make sure to fill that out in December or January or February, but make sure you get it in before March 2nd. It's going to be based on tax year 2023. It's what they call the prior year. So that's the income year it will be based on, is your 2023 taxes. And you're going to be filling out the FAFSA for the first year you'll be in college. That will actually be, you're going to fill out the 25-26 FAFSA. Some people get confused and they think, well, right now it's 24-25, so that's the FAFSA I'm going to fill out. But that would only be if you were in college in 24-25. That's not you. So if you're currently a senior, you're going to be filling out the 25-26 FAFSA because that is the first year you're going to be in college for most of you if you're a 12th grader now. If you haven't yet filed your 2023 taxes, it's going to be very difficult to fill out a FAFSA, so I really encourage you to do that now. All right. Parents, if you're interested in also attending college, you can do that too. Yes, there's no age maximum, but you do have to apply and be accepted. Community college is something that I highly recommend. Also, if for some reason you don't want to fill out a FAFSA or a DREAM Act, we do have a college in San Diego called the San Diego College of Continuing Education, and it is free and no FAFSA is required. They have a lot of vocational and certificate programs available, and actually a lot of different campuses. Their main campus is in Southeast San Diego, but they do have other satellite campuses. And if you want to attend free classes and not even fill out a financial aid form, SDCCE is something I do recommend to people. All right. Let's see. Okay, so let's say that the financial aid office, they offer you this package and it says you qualify for work study or a loan or the middle class scholarship or a Cal grant. And this is what we're giving you from our institution. And they kind of add that all up. You have to decide, okay, what's left over? Can I afford to pay the rest out of pocket from savings? Or are we going to have to take a loan? Are we going to have to say no to this college? That's one of the decisions you'll be making as a family. So this is the average in America. This is the ways most families pay for college. Notice that only 23% is through grants and scholarships. Most of it is through parent income and saving, parent and student borrowing, and then student income and savings and maybe friends and relatives. That's right now about 75%. We hope that you can apply for as many scholarships as possible and that you fill out a FAFSA or a DREAM Act, and hopefully maybe you qualify for as many grants as possible because we want to get that non-loan, we want to get that free money as much as we can. If you are going to save for college, one of the things you might want to do is consider putting it on a 529 savings plan. And the reason is because if it's in a 529, every dollar you put in there is tax deferred. And actually, once you start spending it on college expenses, it's tax exempt. Okay, so that is a possibility. I mean, you could also save it in a jar or save it in a savings account or whatever, but 529 does make that money tax exempt. Also, if you know you can't fill out the FAFSA yet, but you want to find out what is my SAI, what is that student aid index? Is mine 0? Is mine 1,000? Is mine 10,000? What's my SAI? You can go to studentaid.gov right now. They have something called the Aid Estimator. where you can put in, if you want, it can be totally fake information. They'll ask for a birthday. You can put in a fake birthday. It'll ask for your family income. You can put in a real or a fake income. It'll ask you some questions about your income, your assets, etc. And then it'll give you, based on this information, we're going to give you this estimate of what we think your SAI will be. So even though you can't fill out the real FAFSA yet, I definitely encourage people to go to studentaid.gov and look at that estimator to find out what their SAI might look like. And if their SAI is very high, that means they have to start looking for more merit-based aid, such as scholarships. Okay. There is a scholarship at Cal Kids for low-income California residents. I do encourage everybody to go to Cal Kids, put in their information, and just see if they happen to have a scholarship waiting for them, because you could have somewhere between $500 and $1,500 waiting for you as a free college scholarship. They have this for low-income California residents, but there are other scholarship resources I'm going to encourage you to go for. A great one is Big Future. Big Future scholarships are for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, and you don't have to write an essay. You don't have to have a certain GPA. You don't have to have community service. They have these kind of tasks that you complete, like creating a college list or a scholarship list, and your name gets put in a drawing every month for a possible monthly scholarship. And at the end, if you've done all of your steps, you might get put in the drawing for their $40,000 scholarship. So Cal Kids I mentioned. Another really good one is fastweb.com. At Fastweb, you can put in all your information about yourself as a student, and they'll give you back this list of scholarships that you could apply to. So say, for example, they are giving a scholarship for Hispanic students. Say they're giving a scholarship for students who want to major in STEM. Say they're giving college scholarships for boys or girls or someone in a certain faith-based organization or whatever. Fastweb is where you can get matches to a lot of scholarships. So I definitely encourage you to start looking up scholarship resources now, and Fastweb is a great place to do it, as well as Big Future. Again, I'm going to be sharing this slide deck with Miss Llamas, and so she can share it with you. Our CalSoap website is calsoapsandiego.org. I've also mentioned all of these: CA Career Zone, californiacolleges.edu, workforce.org, bigfuture.collegeboard.org, calkids.org. mymajors.com is a really good one if you want to search for what major is offered where, ownetonline.org. And if you happen to be in an immigrant family, immigrantsrising.org has some great help in terms of everything from like college to legal aid to scholarships and things like that. So it's a really helpful resource as well. And also we are on social media on Instagram at CalSoap San Diego. And you have my email address as well, kkwhitaker@ucsd.edu, and our website. So you're welcome to ask me any questions either now or later. Okay. Anything in the Q&A that hasn't been answered, or like any kind of like final questions, Maria?
No, I don't see anything else in the Q&A right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming. I don't want to take up any more of your time. A big thank you to Ms. Llamas for inviting me, and thank you to all of you for attending. We will go ahead and end this webinar, but you can be in touch with Ms. Llamas for information on being able to view this and the slide deck as well. Oh, it looks like there's one thing in Q&A. Yes, we will. I will share a copy of the slides with Ms. Llamas, and she can share it with you. All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Thank you.